housing crisis. But that target isn't going to be met. Instead, the latest figures provided by the Department of the Environment, Community and Local Government show that there were a mere 28 local authority houses constructed in the first 9 months of 2015. That's 28 homes, Taoiseach, where and when there are children growing up in hotel rooms. 28 homes where there are over 5,000 citizens in homeless accommodation, including 600 children, and 28 homes, Taoiseach, when there are over 100,000 applicants on waiting lists for council housing, including 5,000 in my own constituency. Taoiseach, let's be straight about this. It is the policy of your government not to build social and affordable housing. Your record is clear. Social housing construction has declined by 1,600% since 2011, your first year in office. But yet you could find €64 billion to pump into banks. So, Taoiseach, why don't you, as you leave office, explain why you didn't spend even a fraction of these billions to construct homes so badly needed by citizens out there?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Well, you've been on before about raising the rent supplement on private accommodation. Obviously, as I said to you on many occasions, the challenge here is to deal with the supply of houses. There are not enough of houses available for people who need them. And tinkering around with the edges of that will not do anything to increase the supply for people who badly need those houses. Now, you know that. Now, the government have responded in a number of ways, as I pointed out to you before, both in providing proper accommodation for people because of units that were neglected or closed up or not habitable, and significant numbers of those have been brought back into use and allocated to families. Under the social housing strategy for 2020, that sets out, Deputy Adams, clear and measurable targets to increase the supply of social housing to meet those housing needs of all householders on the social housing list. And the intention there and the objective is the delivery of 110,000 units through current and capital funding streams between here and 2020-2021. And in regard to putting together a really strong housing building programme, the government have put €3 billion of taxpayers' money for the social housing strategy out to 2021. In 2015, last year, there were 13,000 units delivered at Count Corla across all the social housing programmes, representing an 86% increase on the 7,000 units that were delivered in 2014. And that's because of the total collapse of the construction sector over a number of years, of which you're very well aware. The target for this year, Deputy Adams, is to deliver 17,000 units for 2016. In the period 2011 to 2014, there were 26,000 new social housing units delivered, and that's for families and people who need them. And obviously you're aware of the Housing Assistance Programme and the Tenancy Supplementary Scheme, which has helped another 10,000 people stay in the houses which they've been in. The government has sanctioned 400 additional posts in local authorities at Count Corla to help build capacity here so that local authorities can get back to building houses. And in that sense, there's been the introduction of a new one-stage approval process for projects up to €2 million in value and up to 15 new housing units. Obviously, ordinarily new housing construction projects go through a very extensive multi-stage approval process. This new opportunity allows for a much faster delivery between concept and construction. And also the government have worked closely with the representative bodies for the approved housing body sector. That's the Irish Council for Social Housing, the National Association of Building Cooperatives, the SHS Oversight and so on. And as I said, the Housing Assistance Programme, and also we've approved the first bundle of PPP projects to deliver over 6 sites, 500 units in the Greater Dublin area. So these are all elements of the challenge, Deputy Adams. At the moment, there there are quite a number of sites around the country where work is going on at the very moment to deliver 926 social housing units. Some of these in your own constituency, but I see from the list here they cover most counties and most areas around the country where construction is actually underway now. We need to get back to a point where local authorities are using direct build methods to build these houses, and the government have provided them with the money, the targets and the facilities to get on to do that. And I hope that during the course of 2016 in Count Corla that will build up very strongly.
Deputy Adams.
My question, Taoiseach, was about building. The fact is, in the first 9 months of 2015, there were only 28 local authority houses built. Shin A, that's the truth of it. And the buzzword you use, the weasel word, is delivery. You talk about delivering. You stand up here and say there's a need to build houses, and then you talk about doing this by 2020 and 2021, while all the time tens of thousands on your watch of families are in need of a home now. As we sit here in this chamber, there are children spending their formative years in homeless accommodation. They need social housing, not Minister Kelly polishing his legacy at yet another press conference, not serial announcements. And your government, Taoiseach, is all about the optics. It's all about spin. It's all talk tough. You remember your posturing at the meeting with the insurance industry in the aftermath of the recent flooding? You remember you said you wanted them back within a week with what they were going to do? Those families still don't have insurance. And that meeting was all about spin, no delivery.
Question, please.
So the scale of the government's failure to deliver on this issue and on other issues is stark. Instead of announcing the same plans over and over again, you have to acknowledge that there has been a decline in the construction of social housing in every consecutive year since you have been in office. That's chaos upon chaos for the families involved. Over 100,000 applicants, Taoiseach, more than would fill Croke Park, waiting for your government to provide them with homes.
Thank you.
Is that what you mean by stability, Taoiseach?
Well, I reject your assertion that calling together the major insurance companies here was either posturing or spin. I reject that from you, Deputy Adams. Now, I've already given you the figures in respect of the response of the government here to put money on the table, to give directions and targets to every local authority and say, get on with it. We've already pointed out that over 2,000...
Please, let's hear the answer.
Thanks very much, Deputy McLaughlin.
Thank you.
So maybe they have a different way, Donegal. The position, Deputy, as you're well aware, about houses and units and apartments that were closed up, blocked off, uninhabitable. 2,000 of those have been handed over in the past period to families, to people who are now off the housing list. 6,000 have been helped with the housing assistance programme, and 5,800 directly being able to stay in their accommodation by virtue of increasing the rent subsidy for them on an individual basis operated through the Department of Social Protection. Maybe you don't want to recognise that. The fact of the matter is that the government, in its programme, have set out $3 billion for social housing directly between here and 2021, and have actually expedited the opportunity for local authorities that in projects that are less than 15 or less houses, that there's a very much faster opportunity to get on with the actual construction there. That's in everybody's interest. I've said before, it's not a situation where you want to condone children living in hotel accommodation or in bed and breakfast. But the fact of the matter is that the entire construction sector had collapsed completely, and you were dealing with 7,000 units a year for a country that would need 20 to 25. I'm glad to say that it's coming back very strongly at the moment, and hopefully 2016 will meet the target of 17,000 social housing units provided directly by local authorities for people who actually need them. In respect of the
Thank you.
In respect of your comment about spin and posturing, I think it was important to call in all of the insurance industries. They've written back. There are still some questions. Maybe you have it already yourself, I don't know. You had information before that I didn't have, so maybe I shouldn't comment. But they did reply, Deputy Adams. There's a great deal of work to be followed through from what they've said. You will be aware that the Department of Finance are carrying out an analysis on all of the different models of insurance in locations where there is no insurance in other countries, and the question of demountable defences here and where there are full-time flood defences in place, plus the fact that, for instance, the insurance companies have pointed out some of the statistics for cover, which there remains to be some further work done on that. So that letter has been received by us, was considered by government today, and will be followed through, believe you me, in a very realistic fashion by having further consultation with the companies in regard to people who can't get insurance.
Deputy Maureen O'Sullivan, please. Thank you.
Okay.